Good morning and happy Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon or any part of the Sunday where you happen to be watching this. Welcome to Rise and Shine Sundays, where every week we have a conversation around a question to see what emerges in our conversations. And this one is a unique kind of conversation because we're asking something about how you show up in the world. I mean, we know that our energy is having an impact, but are we consciously aware of how that energy moves through us, our reactions that we have with other people? And we're wanting to take a delve into the idea of a conscious choice of making sure that you're operating from that energy that you want to bring to the world. I don't know about you, but sometimes I find myself in a situation sometimes where I may find some dissonance in the world. There may be a lot of anger or discontent or trauma that's happening around me, and I don't want to necessarily rise above it and think that my energy is going to fix anything, but I want to be conscious of how my energy does impact the world. And as always on our conversations, you can join us here in the room on RSS Live. If you're if you're watching, if you're out walking around, you're more than welcome to do that too. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can join us in the chat on the Breakthrough Show Network. And so to get started this morning, let's bring in everybody who's in the round table and let's delve into this conversation. We've got a big group this morning, and that means more voices welcome. So here we are in this room. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We are truly global and we are truly grateful for everyone being here. So, as is always the case, it seems to be on Sunday mornings when we gather for a conversation. You know exactly what I'm going to do next. I'm going to turn to Sang, our wonderful companion here on Rise and Shine Sundays, and help us anchor into this whole idea of our energy and impacting the world. What are some helpful terms as we get started on this conversation?
Well, I will say the first thing I think of, there's two phrases. One I'm not familiar with. I don't know that experience, but the other one I do, right? It's when mom's not happy, no one's happy. Right? Or a happy life, happy wife, or whatever that phrase is. That's the one I'm not familiar with. But it is, think about it, right? Like if someone comes into a room and they're angry, what do you automatically do, right? Like this is energy that comes in. But if someone comes in happy, what do we do, right? What does that energy look like? Yesterday, I was with my daughter. She got in the car. She was not having any kind of interaction, right? And so I came in and was like, hey, how's it going? Automatically knew that wasn't the vibe. Right. And so understanding, I think a lot of times we take it personal when sometimes the energy in the room is not where we want it to be, but we also have the power to shift the energy, whether it's in a conversation, whether it's how we come in the room, whether it's, maybe asking different questions of other people or making jokes, kind of being that person. There's always, like, if you think about when you're in workshops or rooms, there's always that one person who's always like just kind of trying to keep it light. And someone's like, why can't they be serious? Right. And just kind of understanding the energy that everybody kind of comes in and pulls in. Even think about when you go to groups and you're sitting in different spaces, what kind of energy do you want to be? I know we talked a lot last week about be the change that you want to see, right? What does that look like for you? Do you want to be the angry person? Do you want to be known as the angry person who comes in the room all the time? Do you want to be known as the energy person? Or maybe it is where, just kind of who you are as that personality gets to kick off. And I think being able to be who you are, use your energy, and be happy. I think that's the part that people get so timid around other people.
Yeah.
We don't exactly know how to show up.
Right. Well, and again, I think oftentimes we always think of our energy as reactive, right? But there's a lot of energy that gets carried in silence.
Correct.
And it's when we talked about be the change that you want to be in the world, it's a recognition that sometimes people that you're encountering are, as we've talked about before, at a completely different space in their walk than you are. And
Mhm.
so when you're more comfortable with who you are, it sometimes isn't so much about what you say, but it is a little bit more about what you be.
Mhm.
Does that make any sense, Ray? Is there anything that I see you nodding?
Yeah, yeah. I had an interesting experience a few years ago where I was invited to an event and I didn't know who the organizer was. It was my first time attending that group session. So there was people outside and there was this guy by the door and I figured, well, I say hello. I said hello and this is it's inside, right? And he says, yeah, just go ahead. So it turns out he's the guy. He's the organizer. And he comes up to me later in the day and he says, you realize you were the only one who said hello to me?
Mm.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
I said, "Well, I generally say hello to people I meet." So it was interesting that it shifted the pattern of behavior that referenced. Is
Mhm.
everybody was going in on their own terms and they hadn't determined how they were going to behave yet, and I figured, well, what the heck? So just being myself, I just said hello. It's the thing to do. There's somebody by the door. Do you ignore them or what?
But you said that critical word, which was
Okay.
being you. Well, no,
Yeah.
which is simply
Hello.
with this hello, right? No, but we forget that being you is an energy and a frequency
Mhm.
that people can really resonate with, especially when you're in your right energy. And I'm holding back because I feel like I said this earlier while we were all gathering. I feel like Jaloki could talk on a subject like this for an hour, but is because a lot of people just aren't in their right selves, right? But when you're being you, that energy shifts without you even speaking. Correct, Chaloki?
Well, yes, and I do feel that I can talk about this subject not for an hour, but for some hundreds of hours. But hopefully some of what I say may be interesting and useful. First, as often, we come from so many different perspectives and background and understanding and worldviews and languages, and there's so many ways to enter this question. The word, energy, the word world, the word me, what are they? So for me, the way I'm entering this at this point, it's not the only way, it's just one way, is from a shamanic-ish perspective.
Okay.
And I choose that because I believe that in the worldview that exists right now in the world that I know, the shamanic one is one of those who's kind of a elaborate in when it's about energy.
Okay.
And so and I'm not going to try to define what an energy is. We have all have our definition, but what I will say is that from a shamanic perspective ish, and from my perspective, I am an energy. So when I'm talking about my energy, I'm talking about my essence.
Okay.
And the world is an energy or energies. Okay. And so already we're talking about something deep, something that is at the essence of who I am and what the world is and what is my relationship and what I am in the world. Now,
Mhm.
because we're not defining, I mean, I am not defining energy here. I'd like to use a analogy that sometimes is useful, because an energy, uh, we're here in a 3D, 4D material physical world, and energies are in the physical world, but they also are beyond the physical world. They're not solid. Okay, they don't have a finite boundary, at least in terms of a dimension. Maybe in terms of frequencies they have, that's different. So the analogy is a scent, a perfume, an odor. So if you have a room and the room has 8 corners, square, 8 corners, and in each corner you have, one corner is a scent of chocolate, one corner is a scent of coffee, one corner is a scent of ice cream, strawberry ice cream, etc., vanilla, etc. And so the corner is where the energy is being emitted, but anywhere in the room, you can have a little bit of all the 8 energies, all the 8 scents. Okay, so and when you move in the room, the ratio changes, whether you're closer or further, and depending of the intensity and the clarity of the source, it will affect the rest more or less in a way or another. Well, that's how I see myself. Just by being, even if I'm not conscious, even if I'm sleeping, even if I'm in coma, I affect the whole world, from far or close, well or not well, I mean, for good or for less good, and affect it, even before I am aware of it. Now, there's the level of and Sang has already started. Well, all the three of us, everyone who spoke already. There's the energy that I can be aware of, okay, and beyond, before what I say, what I do is, how am I being myself? How am I feeling within myself? Okay. And as Sang said, depending on the way I comport myself within myself, with myself, when I enter a room, it affects people in different ways. And some will be aware, some won't. I may be aware of some, etc. So um, um, to summarize, I think two aspects, and again, it's just a choice. Two aspects of how my energy affect the world is, first, who I am in terms of frequency, I affect the world, and what is my consciousness at a certain moment,
Right.
and I affect the world. So just a little food for thought.
Well, and that's really powerful stuff, Jaloki. So thank you for sharing. When you talk about our essence, when you were talking about those those 8, if you will, aromas that were in the room, right? We don't talk a lot about our essence, because sometimes we are so out of touch with whatever our essence was to begin with. And I want to bring back a term that Claudia introduced when she was here for the first time, when we were talking about deconditioning, right? The whole idea is that some of us have been so deeply conditioned to be out of our essence, right? To be an energy that is not us, that it takes that sometimes that really shamanic strength, right? That for someone to put you back into what is the true essence of who you are, right? Isn't that Claudia or Ali? I don't, like I said, anyone who wants to jump in on this. Yeah, Ali.
I think
Oh,
that I'm sorry.
no,
Did you
go
want
ahead,
to?
Claudia. Go ahead.
I think that first of all, you said something there that struck me, and that was that somebody else was going to put us back to our essence, and that for me is does not strike me as true. Only we can put ourselves back into our essence. And one of the things that came up while Jaloki was talking was that the essence of who we are changes from moment to moment. The deepest essence of who we are, divine, does not change. But in our outer world, our essence changes from moment to moment. And for instance, the other day, I was having a little bit of a stressful day. And I came out of my office and into my kitchen where my husband was, and didn't say a word actually, but immediately he was defensive about something,
Hmm.
right? And I went, and then I stepped back into who I was being. And I was out of my pure essence at that point. I was in an essence of well, I was not I was in stress. And so as soon as I felt that defensiveness, I thought, okay, where is that coming from? And then I looked at myself. And as soon as I did that and took a step back without becoming defensive myself, I spoke out loud, okay, wait a minute, let's step back here. I came out very stressful, and I think you picked up on that. And so let me go back in my room, decompress a little bit, and then I'll come back out and we'll start all over. And that changed the whole tone of the whole evening.
Right.
So, and that's just a one-on-one instance, but to take it further out into the rest of the world, what's happening now in the world will be changed by consciousness changing and by the realization that our energy contributes to what's happening in the world. And so once we can change that consciousness, what's happening will change.
You know,
And
go ahead.
well, no, go ahead.
I was just going to say what the method that you described in terms of the way in which you dealt with that interaction with your husband is something that people have created workshops that, you know, there are people who have complicated things in such a way in teaching things. But what you just talked about was the pure way of resetting yourself. Oftentimes, you know, there's that approach. I didn't want to miss that point that you just, because that reset that you were just talking about is something, like I said, that people have complicated into workshops and processes. Oh, well, my 8-week method for you to resolve, you know, getting your own energy. You did it instinctively and reset yourself beautifully. Did anyone else catch that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. She paused.
Yeah.
We talked about that. She paused. She took a step back, assessed, and then had to like recalibrate. That's what I like to call recalibrating.
yes.
Then going back in and saying, okay, like even for me yesterday when I was in the car, so I couldn't necessarily step out of the car and recalibrate. But I was like, okay, we have something different here today. No problem. I can still be who I am in that space. I just couldn't be that happy, jovial person that I thought I was going to get to be when I got in the car. But I can still go, okay. But then it becomes, and I know we transition to then empathy, right? What's going on with the other person and what supports me in that space while being able to support them at the same time.
So what Jaloki So what Jaloki and what Claudia have put out there is there's almost like there's this pure essence, there's the reactive essence, and then there's that fluid essence of what is your conscious choice. And Ollie, I want to make sure that I include your voice because I know you're sweating there in Belgium. It must be. So your essence must be a little bit more heated today than normal, yes?
Maybe, but I'm here to contribute with my energy first by singing a song to uplift us all. It's a song from Evelyn Thomas, and high energy, your love is lifting me. Oh, 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 high energy. So I'm with that. I uplift the energy, and I have 2 stories to tell whenever the occasion occurs. The first story is about a blocked man in some place, and the second story is a lady in the airport. But before that, I was as sang is also in language. I was realizing, because I don't know all, I am not a numberatory dictionary, but I discovered that energy comes from the ancient Greek. So Aristotle, and it's about something that is play at work, something that is play working within or somewhere. And so I realized also that it's all about The technique that you just talked about, someone called it SOS, which stands for stand back, then observe, and then steer. Because at some point we can feel energy, and the inaction, in fact, is action by itself. It's like, I don't want to act, I don't want to do anything. So it's really essential for me to whatever happens outside, what is in my control. Even if something happens inside, either I continue, I move on, or either I say, I have pain here, what happens? And then I go, I check in with my body, what happens, because maybe there is a message out there. So it's always about what is in my control. Do you want already that I tell shortly the story about the lady in the airport?
Well, let's go. Let's toss it out and see what it brings up for anyone. So when you get done with it, whoever wants to jump in response to Ali's story, go for it.
Okay, so there is an airport, and there is flight delays, and luggages are not arriving, and you see a lot of people really angry, and really it's a mess. They don't know when they are going to pick up their luggage. They are really, and you feel the energy on the airport, trying to where are my luggage? Then there is a lady. They have some they have plastic balloons, and she's beginning by inflating balloons and to craft some balloons toys and to give balloons to other people, and instantly it shifts the energy. And it's about I think I'm not assuming, because I don't know the story of what was thinking the lady, but if I were the lady, I was thinking, I have something that could help to lift up this energy. I don't know what will respond others, but I'm doing my way because I want to lift up my own energy, and by doing that I might also lift up others' energy. So that's the end of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
I love that you just the mere being able to jump in and say there could be something, because we don't, like you said, Ollie, we don't know what was inside of their mind, the balloon maker. But I know that I'm one of those people that come in if there's a lot of tension in a room. I know that I can come in and be like, make a joke or something to kind of break the ice, right? Like, I think knowing what your own strengths are when you go into a room, and I love that Joki talking about the essence of who you are. People know who you are, and I think we go back to Maya Angelou, right, where people know how you made them feel, right? I could probably do a million things for you, and there may be one thing that sticks out more than the others, but it will always come back to how I made them feel. And I think being that energy coming into the room, I know, and this is where we again, knowing ourselves, what do we bring here? I think the other thing I think there was a question I came up with last week, which was, if we are being all that we can be, we're being who we are in the space, are we able to use that distinction to understand when someone else takes us out of our own energy, if that makes sense, as I take us deeper into something else. But being able to have that and understand and go, okay, this is happening in real time. How do I make that adjustment? And is my body ready to respond or react? And I think that's definitely a different place to be, for sure. But I love the change of the energy of the room.
We've been moving a lot through how our energy is expressed, how our energy exists, how our energy is reactive, how our energy is fluid. So I understand more about what you were trying to say earlier, Jaloki, when you said, I'm not going to try to define energy. But
right?
Is there more that you wanted to say about that? Because what is that dance then? What is there really a frequency that's ours?
Well, as Claudia said, I also believe. I use believe because I want to remain polite, but I could say I know that we have a atemporal, aspatial, aconditional, unconditional essence that not only doesn't change through time, it doesn't even exist where time is a limitation. Okay, this is one thing that's beyond the world that we live in right here with the body and we're talking. In this dimension, in this range of frequency, we change we know that. Even Western science knows that. We don't have the same body as 7 years ago. Not only we don't have the same body, we almost don't have any cells that we had 7 years ago. But even every minute, we change physically, we change emotionally, we change psychologically, we relationship, etc. So, but the change is part of the energy that doesn't change. Yeah.
No. We're all dancing with you. You're among friends, so keep going.
The thing that doesn't change is that everything changes. And so again, and forgive me, I believe, I may be wrong, that in the modern Western culture, people are not educated to be very energy literate.
Correct.
But that can be done. We can, and some cultures, raise their members to be more energy literate. But you don't have to go into that culture. Now everything is available to everyone. Okay, there's internet, there are people, there's books, etc. I think it may be beneficial for people, for groups, for families, for nations to engage in a development of their energy literacy, to become energy literate, and then to become energy. As humans, we have the potential to be energy masters, and some humans have showed that to us. We can bend time, space, frequencies, fire, water, here in billions of light years ago. We can. We know that, but we've forgotten and we've limited ourselves. We limit our energy. And so, yes, we can change our energy. We change it all the time anyway, unconsciously and without wanting it. But we can do it intentionally, consciously, for the better of the world.
Wow. No, thank you. Thank you for introducing the term energetic literacy. I'm this many years old, this many days old, and I have never thought about putting those two things together. But it's very true, because it goes back to sort of what Claudio was talking about, which is, recognizing there's the divine essence, there's the reactive essence, there's there's that fluidity in it. And I think just the idea that I saw saying the minute you were talking about this idea of, we've been, the Western culture has conditioned us out of believing that we have an energetic literacy. I think you had something that you want to kind of say in response to that saying.
Yeah, it makes me think about, like, when we in how do I say it? I get excited when I start stuttering. I just want to say that when we're trained and conditioned, whatever, I feel like trained is such a bad thing. We are conditioned to respond and react more. We're taught to more react to other people's energy than to hold our own energy. Right. Or, like, if we think about even as I was going, everybody was talking, at some point we always directed outward instead of inward, right? To say my energy. And then we're talking about stories about how we're reacting to other people's energy, when our energy, and I think about this when people go on vacation to the islands, the Caribbean, and they're like, oh, it's so relaxed. People have no stress here. We eat our breakfast for 2.5 hours. We sit and chat and we have a conversation, and then everything, but it's like vacation, but it's like, I love this life. And then you go home, and instead of trying to figure out how to incorporate that smoothness and that easiness to bring that type of energy even into your space, you go back into your environment. And if your environment, and we talked about this last week in terms of adaptation, we start adapting to our environment because then we don't fit in to the calmness of the environment where everyone else is chaotic. So being able to, I love that you said that too, energetic literacy, because I know for myself, I've always been taught to walk around on pins and needles, right, around other people. And so then I know one of the reasons why I like to bring the calmness of the energy to the room is because I don't want anybody else in the room to feel like they're on pins and needles and they're waiting for something to happen, or they're waiting for someone to blow their lid or something like that. And just to kind of be the calmness of the energy in that space. So I love that you said that, because there are different cultures that do not talk about energy or what it feels like. I know I didn't grow up that way.
Well, and I would like to hear a little bit more. Maybe Ray, talk a little bit about maybe in applications. I'd also like to bring Claudia's perspective back in terms of ways in which, if we understand that there is an energetic literacy, if we understand that. I know you work a lot in groups, Ray. Does this resonate in terms of how we tend to want to control it, right? We tend to want to, we get patterned into it. People control our energy. We forget that we even have an energy. You know, people say, use this word. I'm sure Joel, he will laugh at this. You know, I'm powerless. I'm completely powerless in this situation, right? But we've been conditioned to believe that, right? So we have structures that are set up that way.
Yeah, I'm going to do like Ollie. Two points to make is first, what's happening in groups that I've been exploring with is there's a new level of awareness that's starting to emerge, but there's not the as Yoloki has shared with us, there's not the literacy or the grammar to be able to talk about it, or to not yet with them. So they're exploring that and trying to find that, as well as the behaviors that allow them to explore it more meaningfully. So I think, which ties me to the second one is, which is may sound odd, but I was watching an interview with Steven Spielberg about his latest movie, and it wasn't what I was expected from him. He then went into this interesting aspect of how he was telling of a story so that people could then change the way they are understanding or perceiving what they thought was going on. So it was about, what if we weren't looking the right way, or we couldn't see what was actually happening? What would change if somebody brought that information to us? So back to energy literacy, somebody's now bringing or proposing or starting to emerge to look at energy literacy and new ways of seeing the world or being in the world. So I found it fascinating that what he did essentially. I went, whoa, is that ever clever? He's now telling a story. People think they know what the story is going to be when they walk into the theater to see the story, but it's deep down. What he's doing is to say, what if you found out, what would you do with it? What would change in you, your energy, and your ability to perceive? He went to a great length to talk about perspective and perception. What if we don't know that we are only seeing one side, but not the whole thing? Which is back to what Yoloki and you've all been mentioning, is that we've limited ourselves. So if we're not looking for understanding our energy and how it impacts the world, what are we missing out on?
Well,
so
yeah,
back to you.
Well, no. I so appreciate what you're saying, but going back to something, I don't know who said it to begin with, but it's invisible. We can't see it. So when someone says, when I feel like I have no power, when I feel like my energy is somewhere, I can't necessarily see it. I can't quantify it. I can only experience it, right? And if Spielberg's going to take with his own movie, well, here's my point. I want you to get my point of my film, but he's inviting it to see, well, what does this inspire and invoke? Claudia, if you have the the energy, or the one to turn on the mic and talk a little bit. Can you help us a little bit more with how you can build an experiment with your? Do you want to add anything to this whole concept of building on our energetic literacy?
I think that in order for me to build on my own energetic literacy, and I think it may be true for other beings too, we have to learn, and I'm going to go back to, we have to learn how to pause. We have to learn how to walk into a room, feel that energy that's there, and I've done this actually, and if it's energy that don't want to connect with, or we're not in tune with, we can pause and go into our deeper essence, our deepest selves, and pull up that energy of love. Or even before we walk into a room, pull up that energy of love, and then see what happens. Pause again, see what happens to the energy in the room. And by doing this, we start to learn at a deeper level how our energy does affect not just the room, but the whole world. Because it does ripple out.
Mm-hmm.
When your energy, if you want to call it positive, happy energy, if that's what you're projecting at the point, affects the room, those people are going to go out and affect more people and more people and more people. And so it sounds undoable, but I think it is very doable. I think as we and I'm a hopeful person. I'm a positive person normally. And if we, can, through our energy, affect other people's happiness and positivity, then it may not stick for a long time, but it might stick enough for them to affect other people.
And well said. Well said. So if we can get, Jolikie, if we can build on that, but I also have a question for you.
Maybe ask the question and then.
Yeah.
What the question I have is that there's an essence of magic here.
Yeah.
When we understand what our energy is, it can become magical.
Okay. And then when it becomes magical, it's not magical anymore. When you get to the supernatural, you realize that it's natural. To being inspired by what Claudia just said, I have a suggestion. I have an offer and we'll see if it's useful for people who want to develop their energetic literacy from a starting point of a kind of a more conventional Western worldview. And we have a new.
There's always hope. There's always hope. We welcome hope in.
That we want to welcome.
Yeah, we welcome hope. But continue with the magic. Uh-oh, we may have lost Jolikie.
Oh no, we lost his energy just like that. No,
he's paused.
Let's pull him back in. Pull him back in.
Let's take it. Let's take a breather. Because I think that's one of the things that we wanted to sort of talk about. Oh, he's back. He has returned.
Yeah, there he is. Maybe. There he is. He's moving. He's working on sound.
Okay. All right. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry. For a while, my internet was So I was saying, just a little suggestion. Um, um, Working with the model of body, heart, mind, spirit.
Mhm.
The suggestion, and this is just a little uh, taste of something that can take, a course. So what's the feeling, what's the perception of the state of my body, my heart, my mind, and my spirit? And so at the body, what am I perceiving right now? What are the physical sensation? What do those physical sensations are trying to tell me symbolically,
Mhm.
using my sensation and trying to interpret them as symbols, as if I was interpreting a dream?
Mhm.
My heart, my relationships, my feelings. What am I feeling with such and such person in such and such a situation when I'm doing that, or when I'm thinking this? What does this mean? What is the message? What is the symbolic communication here? So,
Mhm.
so physical sensation, emotion, mental, it's the insights, the inspiration. Okay, what is coming into my mind? Why? How? And I use both the reasoning, rational approach. Okay, this means this, this means that, etc. And then I go even a little above, to use a term, intuition. Inspiration is already the etymology of the term inspiration from the Latin is the coming of the spirit. Okay, and then the intuition, I can talk a lot about intuition, but that's where, from the energy literacy, I get to the energy intelligence.
Mhm.
Okay, first we develop my literacy in energy, then I develop my intelligence in energy. The same way you have IQ, EQ. Okay, the emotional intelligence, you can have energetic intelligence, and then I manifest my potential as an energetic master.
Wow, that's an invitation. All this from just a general inquiry. No, that's very, very powerful. Um, does anyone want to respond to this whole idea of? I love the idea of developing ways to take the pause that we do, right, and apply what Jaloki is asking us to do, which is then to run it through these different systems, right? So it's the pause, for most of us in Western culture is just simply stopping, right?
Right.
And sometimes that is true what happens. But if anybody else heard this the same way that I did, hang on, Ollie, I'll get to you, is you'll have you're inviting us to kind of check that pause through three different ideas: our heart, our head, and our body, right? And then be able to sort of operate from there. Ollie, was what you wanted to say, building on that?
I'm just going to take a pause to witness the amazing energy of Hope who joined the room, and it's an invitation for Hope to express if she chooses so.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I want to say, I think I love going back, and I know this, what happens is such a broad topic
Mm-hmm.
that it's easily to get lost in the sauce of having to do this and having to do this and having to do this, because we're conditioned to think on step 1, step 2, step 3. And so even as I'm listening to everybody, I get so excited about this, is that even all the things that we've talked about over the last however many weeks we've been on this show is that pause and recognizing, right? That stopping and recognizing, which is what Jaloki's talking about. It's what Claudia is talking about. That pause, because then we have to be able to understand and interpret and intentionally work with our own internal energy and state. And a lot of times we're basing that off of the emotional and relational and environmental energy around us, which can be disarming, right? But it can also allow us to tense up. And I think being able to notice when we have our own shifts, just like Claudia noticed this isn't working for me, so let me take a step back, right? Then recognizing and then being able to say, do that. But what happens, I think, a lot of times in our internal mind is we feel like we have to be there at that moment. We have to stay in this uncomfortable energy that we don't want to be in around others and not be able to let ourselves be ourselves.
Right. So, in other words, in those moments of the pause, we don't want to necessarily be the energetic master, right? In the pause, we want to be Thor. You know what I mean? We want to take the idea of mastery as somebody who is like super powerful. Like, I don't know if anyone else has observed this. Sometimes the most powerful people who are energetic masters say nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I so agree.
And now that we're not saying anything, would
Right.
anyone like to jump in on that whole
Well,
idea?
The fool thinks they are, the fools think they're wise, and the wise know they're fool.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well,
Yeah.
if we take it back a couple of weeks ago when we talked about the art of war, right? And the art of war, even in that aspect, there's the pause and assessing your situation to decide what is and what is not, what is intuition, what is not, what is reaction versus responding, and being able to be at that calming space to then decide, and not that we're trying to go at war with anybody, but our internal battles with ourselves are the worst when we're trying to put our energy out there, because like, should I be this way, should I be this way, instead of saying, who do I want to be in this moment, what has triggered me, is this, and I know that it's very hard to do because I had to do this the other day in terms of going, was this my intuition or was this my mind saying this what needs to be done based off of my past experience and the emotions that came up with it?
Right.
Right? How many people are pausing to ask themselves questions of that nature, even anything like that, to say, let me shift myself because I can only control me. And then I know if everyone, if everything else, but just knowing that as long as I am me and my energy is there, it's astounding.
And Ray, I haven't heard from you in a couple of months, so I want to make sure I check in with you to
He's
see how.
genius. He's genius. He's our master.
You said something really interesting, saying is that in the room itself, are we being reactive or are we being ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
My usual situation in a room is I'm sort of the quiet energy in the room. I'm sort of there listening, talking. And what I found over time is the dominant energy usually, as it says, creates the most noise or the most energy.
Mm-hmm.
But the quiet energy has, I think, a slow release effect in the room, because people will notice the difference, because you then create the situation of contrast. So then I think that allows others to start to develop their own energy literacy and intelligence to say, look what's happening in the room. They both coexist, the quiet and the energetic or the loud. So
Mm-hmm.
then they themselves can internally say, well, what's drawing me in, or what part do I play? And sometimes that creates those opportunities for other discussions slightly later or in a different room.
Yeah. I love what you put in the chat, Shaloki, that noise doesn't make good and good doesn't make noise.
Mm-hmm.
And, you go back to, how we have been, again, conditioned to believe that when I heard you talk about energetic mastery, the first image that popped in my head, was Thor, this kind of like powerful, but, that shows you how I've been conditioned to believe that actually sometimes the most active demonstration of energetic mastery is just someone who's poised and ready. You know what I mean? They're very quiet and they're very still. Fair enough?
We have Ollie with his hand up,
Yeah,
I think.
Ollie.
Yes. In fact, it's I would like to reiterate what we said. Energy literacy incorporates, and I truly believe that knowledge, there are millions and gazillions of information, but as long as it's not in practice, in action, it's worthless, I think, because knowledge It's like when we are teaching or coaching, it's not about our brain, it's about the brain of the people that receive the information that are making in action. And then when the knowledge is in action, it's incorporated, it's in the body, and it's the true information, the true wisdom, and knowing that we are all different with 8.3 billion brains and body, and that we might have also different energies. I think also it's about the environment. And no matter what, we can have a lot of knowledge from Sue Morter, Joe Dispenza, or Lynn McTaggart. The fact to know that we can have two jar of rice exactly the same, but one is flourishing because we send love, and the other one is really crap because we send hate. It's information. It needs to be incorporated. And last thing, I'm really heartedly accomplishing my mission is to embark the heart, because the heart emits more energy outside of the body than the brain. And so just knowing that when we are embarking our heart, we are embarking all our neurons that are, most are there, but there are also neurons in the body. And it's really to enjoy, to make joy. And mastery is just step by step, muscle by muscle. The most important is the joy and the blessing to achieve something little by little, rather than to think, oh, I have this mount of Everest to climb. It's really harsh, but it begins by one step at a time.
It does. And, one step, I tell you this, Claudia, I'll get you in just a second. This hour has certainly been filled with a lot of,
Right.
a lot of energy, but please, Claudia, please continue.
Well, and I want to add something here that I don't think we've taken a look at today, and that is that, sometimes we are embroiled in other energies other than our own. And so part of that mastery is as Jaloki said, touchstoning our heart, our mind, and our soul, and figuring out which, if we feel our energy is off, is it our energy that's off, or is it energy that we have absorbed through the ethos that is not our energy?
Absolutely.
And so I think we have to be very mindful of that too. People who are very empathetic and very intuitive, unless they're very careful, tend to absorb a lot of energy that's not theirs. And so that's where burnout comes from. That's where, throwing up your hands comes from. I had a very, very dear friend of mine who's passed now, but she taught me to imagine myself in this translucent egg in order to try to differentiate what's mine and what's not mine. And that egg is a protection from outer energies that may be coming at me because I'm empathetic, because I am intuitive, and that may be coming at me, and it's a way for me to stop energies that are not mine.
Yeah. That's a very, go ahead.
And I think a lot of people who are not, what was the phrase Jaloki used? Energy intelligence.
Literacy. And energetic intelligence.
Energetic intelligence.
Energy illiterate.
Yes. If they're energy illiterate, they cannot differentiate between what's theirs and what's not theirs.
Yeah, that's a question that we probably won't even take a look at one Sunday, which is whose juice is fueling you, and it is something that again comes from that taking the pause, which I love. We could call it pause, we could call it a translucent egg, we could call it anything in which you take that moment to sort of go within or pause, go into neutral, whatever you want to call it, and run those questions. I loved what you just again added, Claudia, as far as a way that we could do this. But I want to come back, I want to circle back to Jaloki, because I feel like there's so much that's been pouring out of you this morning, and we're all the better for it. You've introduced so many important terms and so many important concepts to us. Is this a skill that we can develop? Can we develop an active practice around our? It seems like some people can do it. Oh well, you just have to be what you want to be in the world, but it takes some work sometimes for people to really kind of work through this, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Humans, we among the mammal member of our species. Some other animal, it takes them a few days or a few weeks or a few months. For us, it takes like several decades. Okay, so yeah, to become, to develop our literacy, our intelligence, and our mastery, it takes work. So again, one little principle only mentioned some like Joe Dispenza, etc. I'm just what I'm repeating what Cheats and Susan have told. First is your intention. Okay, let me be clear of what my intention is. Do I really want to increase my energy literacy? If I do, okay, some things will have to change. I'm going to have to shift some energy, some time, so there's going to be a little pain. The intention. When my intention is clear and my action can change, I have to put my.
All right, we've got a pause that we've got built in here.
Changes.
Jaloki,
It's the impact.
Let's go back. Let's take us to step 2
Okay.
again. Take us to step 2 again, if you could.
We lost your audio at the second part after intention.
Okay. So
Oh no.
Oh no.
I'm sorry.
Let's do this. Let's
Sorry. Okay, all right.
hang on. Let's take a breath. Everybody, let's take a collective
Sorry, I
breath.
apologize.
There is nothing to be. Look,
my
internet's a little dicey. Sometimes that happens. And I think this goes back to something that Claudia was talking about earlier, is that, these things aren't always perfect. Once we set the intention of doing something, we've got other energies at work here. One of them called an internet connection, an energetic thing that connects us. We connect Ollie in Belgium, Hope in Canada, Ray in Canada, Sang and I here in Kansas City, Claudia, in the northern United States. So let's take a pause. We've got a few more minutes left. We've got 2 minutes left. I'd like for us to maybe pick this up next week, if we could, and talk about, can we develop energetic literacy, or how do we develop energetic literacy? Would that be something that would you be able to join us? Would everybody be able to be back here for that conversation next week?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, please, Claudia, go ahead.
Yeah.
Who would like to?
Oh no, I was just saying I can be here next week.
I think that's what we should do. I think that's what the universe is asking us to do. So, oftentimes, and I'll say this because we're coming up on the actual absolute end of our hour. I am so grateful. I feel like we're in one of these situations where we're pouring water into a cup, and it's just overflowing with all sorts of valid resources and wonderful insights. And I want to thank all of you for being here and adding your presence to that. Yeah, Ollie, before we go, quickly.
Yes, and I would like to thank also Jessica and her amazing community and Energy Breakthrough Show Network
Okay,
for
great.
giving her platform and her energy to this, because she is really inspiring us
Gotcha.
by her energy.
And we have to be out of here at noon, so we have to clear the space on YouTube. But thank you all for joining us. We'll be back here next week. If you're watching this, please join us at rsslive.org. We'll look forward to seeing you back next week. For all of us, thank you for being here, and more to come. You can join us at RSS Live after this, even if you'd like to continue it.